Hello and welcome to the Golfing Greenkeeper podcast. I'm your host, Steve Smith. This is episode number 45. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you back to the Golfing Greenkeeper podcast, and we move away from some of the conversations we've had in recent times with superintendents and the like and golf course owners and different things, walking the fairways, and we're going to catch up again with friends of the golf. I can say friends of the Golfing Greenkeeper podcast because they've been on once before. I want to welcome back Loch and Leesh from Finding Fairways, guys. Welcome again to the podcast.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks for having us.
No, thank you for taking the time out. Now we catch up with you post-trip. I've been waiting for this moment to come where the stars could align. We can all get together and catch up again on the podcast. And I wanted to talk to you now that your trip's finished. It's really exciting. How does it feel that this big journey around the country is sort of over? Is it a feeling of joy that you've done it and you've completed something special, or are you like, well, we're back at home now, what do we do next? Where are you at?
Yeah, back to the real world, back to work. That's been a tough couple of weeks, only getting to play golf once a week rather than a couple times a week.
Yeah, I think it is joy that we've done it and that we were able to do it in amongst, COVID and a million other things. But yeah, we just feel so lucky, really. And we've managed to have a bit of a fresh start as well. We sort of moved into a new place, and I've started a new job since we got back. So it's sort of, it's been nice.
Yeah, good to see Australia. Good timing as well, getting to see Australia. Considering international travel was sort of off the cards there for a while.
Yep.
Absolutely. And speaking of fresh starts, look, I'm going to throw a curveball now before we get too far into the conversation. And you're now seasoned golf veterans. You're well-traveled around golf in Australia, and we can say that with some sort of qualification. I'm going to surprise you with something. I'm going to throw to you guys with Steve's Super 7 questions for something totally different. I don't know if you've heard it before, but are you ready to get on with this one?
Yeah, I've made Leesh listen to the podcast.
All right, so you've got an idea what this is about. Let's see how we go with this. All right, question number 1. Which is your preference, sunrise or sunset?
I prefer sunset. I think it's just the way that the afternoon light creates the shadows on the golf course, especially if it's got contours on the fairways.
Yeah, I'd say the same. Actually, that's pretty boring, but yeah, I love playing Bonnie Doon in particular at sunset. It's just beautiful.
Very interesting. I didn't expect these questions to be quite different answers so far. It's only question 1 from that of greenkeepers. So this is interesting from golfers. I'm really looking forward to these answers. This is what I like. So number 2, course appearance questions. Do you like for course presentation in all of your travels? Do you like stripes or no stripes on fairways?
No stripes for me. I like the natural look.
Yeah, I don't know. Did we even see many stripes on our travels?
You might have seen some stripes at Joondalup.
Yeah, it was rare. So I'd say no stripes.
Okay, interesting stuff. Now, a preferred look of a golf course, and this might also be a little bit telling. Do we like a lean presented course, or do we like a lush green golf course?
You go first. Don't be influenced by my comments.
Yeah, that's right. I'd probably say lean. And to be honest, I mean, we've seen all types, and to me, it's pretty fun playing a ridiculous dirt course where there's just not even a blade of grass. So I'd say lean.
That's the extreme leans, isn't it? You've seen down to bend.
Yeah, I think Leesh and I spent almost every day together for 5 months, so we share a lot of the same opinions now. But I like it lean too. I think I need as much advantage as I can get, so the run out on the fairways is quite nice.
Very, very good. And we might talk about bounce when there's on the fairways. We'll get down that path a little bit later on. Number 4, favourite green surface. Now, this one might intrigue. I don't know. I'm curious to this one. Do you like bent grass greens, couch grass greens, or something else?
I don't know how much Leesh knows about the grass on the greens.
I'd say I like grass greens.
Grass green. Let's just be general here. Let's go with grass.
Yeah, that was probably only it'd be more than 50% of the courses we played, but a grass green was a lush time for us. So
Very good. And what about
And
you?
if the greens are rolled, that's a huge plus. You might need to add in sand. There's different types of sand greens as well, and we played a few Astro greens along the way.
Yep.
Oh, there you go. So we're talking very different surfaces here. Some aren't even alive.
I'd say that after playing the variety of courses, I've got no preference, but grass is definitely a preference.
All right, let's stick with that. And I'm sure everyone, like I said, is going to get to hear more about this as we move through. Now, we'll get to number 5 now. Where do you prefer to play on a golf course? Do you like the heat or do you like it cool and temperate?
I'd say I like heat. We had some pretty extreme heat. So there was some that were just ridiculous, but in general, I like heat.
Yeah, there's one course where I think we got through our water bottles after about 3 holes, 3 out of 9 holes. There's no water on the course.
That's extreme.
I prefer it cooler, definitely.
Okay. All right. Very good. Very good. Number 6, your favourite bunker style, and I'm not sure how many bunkers you might have come across in some of the courses you play, but do you like St Andrews, Kingston Heath, or Augusta National as an aesthetic preference?
I'd have to go the Kingston Heath route, even though I've never played. We didn't play any golf in Victoria. I've never played golf in Victoria.
Oh, there we go.
Pictures, I like that sort of natural look.
Yeah, I have no idea, Steve. I'm not that up to date on my bunkers. I probably need to listen to more of your podcasts.
Well, no. I'm going to go one for. We'll peel it back a little bit more through some of your experience. Like we talked about grass types on greens, we'll just go with grass for one. Do you mind having bunkers on a golf course with some of the courses you played, or do you find it interesting without any? I'm curious to that answer, Leesh.
Yeah, I guess we played quite a few without any, and we played a fair few dirt courses that had, what do you call those inverse bunkers? It's like a little mound of dirt when you
yeah.
The black. And they were quite fun, to be honest, because if you had to sort of chip over them on a pretty terrible surface, that could cause all sorts of difficulty. So that was good fun.
There you go. Very interesting. This is all good. I'm intrigued more and more. Now, the final one for the Steve Super 7. If you could visit one golf course, and I'm just gonna narrow this down a little bit for where you've travelled. If you could play one golf course, not in the world, but one course in Australia, where would it be?
Which course? Name the course?
Yeah, name the course. Which course would you like to play anywhere in Australia?
You go, Hazy.
You know what I'm going to say. I'm going to say Moline on their annual carnival competition that they have on the Darwin race day long weekend. I would be straight there.
I need to know more. Tell me more. What's this? Where's this? In Darwin?
Secret? No, not in Darwin. But this course we discovered by accident in sort of just near Kakadu, and it was just the most ridiculous thing that we chanced upon. And we got there about a day after their competition, but a few of the guys that organised it and I guess sort of ran the whole course really were still there, and they let us play, and we had a great night with them. And I'd love to go back there and play the competition because it sounded like so much fun.
Wow, what a great answer. That's awesome. Hey, can you top that, Loch, or is it going to be the same one?
No, I've got a pretty boring one, I think. I'm a stickler for my hometown. Duntry League, I still think is the most underrated golf course in Australia. It is looking absolutely spectacular now. If anyone hasn't played it, they've got to. And I could play that course every day for the rest of my life.
Oh, look, and I know Superintendent Grant there is he's done an incredible job with the team. And it's a fantastic golf course, great history, designed by Eric Appley back in the early 1900s. It's a great course, and I agree with you, mate. Underrated. I know it. I can speak. I don't know yours, Leesh, so I can't comment about the one up there near Kakadu. But both great answers. Great answer. What an awesome change to the norm for Steve Super 7, guys. Thank you so much for doing that. It's great fun. Now let's talk about this trip. We're post your trip. We caught up with you back in July last year, so the best part of 6 or so months ago. Episode 21 it was. If anyone's interested, just go back and you'll hear the beginnings of the story. You guys were at the back of Queensland. I think Winton was the course you might have played at the time, and we were embarking on getting into the Northern Territory. Tell us a little bit, if you can, a brief description of the the sort of the way you travelled around Australia. You're in a camper van. You were just, you know, stopping at different places along the way, not necessarily in townships. Some of them were sort of campgrounds and things. Tell us a little bit about how your whole trip went down over, I think it was 5 months.
Yeah, last time we talked, we were camped up in the car park at Mount Isa Golf Club.
Oh, there you go. Yes.
Yeah.
That's
and
right.
we were just preparing to go into the territory. So after 2 weeks in Queensland, we wanted to get out of there because COVID, you just don't know these days. Then we spent 6 weeks in the territory.
Yeah.
Not many golf courses there.
11. I remember 11, that number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of golf between Mount Isa and Darwin, really. Catherine, Moline, that was it.
Yeah.
Then we did about 2 months in WA, coming all the way down the coast.
So that was pretty remote as well, north of sort of Exmouth, right? There was a whole lot of not much, which was, as you touched on, like just brilliant to be able to camp at these, you know, free camping sites or rest stops and just be surrounded by the beautiful, harsh landscape. That was just an incredible experience, and just sort of, you know, be with a few other travellers, watch the stars. That was a real highlight for me.
It's amazing. And you were doing some national park visits as well and some runs along the way that weren't like just more for, you know, I suppose just general get out and see the countryside as well, not golf specific. There were other things you were doing whilst you were travelling, and that's cool to be able to see, you know, when you can walk places that are off the beaten track. That's unique.
Yeah, that's right. And just have the time to travel to these places, which are, you know, often pretty remote, and we're quite aware that we might not get back there ever or for 30 years. You don't know. So
it might not change in 30. It might still be quite similar.
I know, but having the time to explore these places on foot and via golf was just the absolute highlight. And I think we pretty much every day we're either going for a run, playing golf, doing a hike, doing something for a few hours outdoors. So that was unreal.
Basically lived outdoors for 5 months.
Yeah, we did.
A month down the southwest and did the Cape to Cape hike, and then finished that off. We walked past Augusta Golf Club down there.
That's the southwesternmost point of Australia, if I'm correct in memory.
That's right, Cape Lewin. And this Augusta golf course was just, the views and the elevation changes there were incredible.
Wow, that's cool.
Half a dozen balls though.
I remember I was there when we went to Perth as kids, and I just remember it blowing deluxe. That's the one thing I remember about Augusta was the wind. Don't ask me why. Yeah. It's the one thing I recall. Yeah,
that west coast, you can get some very windy days.
Oh, yeah.
And so
said that he had his tattoos blowed off.
So we're down the southwest at Augusta, and then you come along the southern reaches of that southwestern corner across to Esperance, did you? Through the timber country, through Pemberton and Manjimup and so on, is that right?
We did, we did all the ups.
And Denmark and the like.
Yeah.
Yeah, stunning country there, and of course, you know, beautiful wines around there as well. So that was lovely. We hovered there for quite a while, but then the excitement, of course, was getting across the Nullarbor. So we made sure we didn't, you know, rush that too much. I think we spent about 5 days getting across there, and then we were sort of spat out into, well, urban South Australia, if you can call it that, and did various peninsulas around SA. We did sort of a few circles around South Australia because everything's relatively close.
Close compared to WA.
Or we just got used to distances, and, you know, for us, like 300 Ks driving was just sort of up the road and no worries. And then we ran out of time basically to go to Victoria. So that's on our list to get back there in the van when we can.
That's pretty. It's pretty incredible concept to just there suggest at the end that you ran out of time, and this is just to give people. I don't look. It's laughable in a sense because this is to give people if you've never driven around Australia, and like I said, I was fortunate. I know what it was like when I was young with the family. As mum and dad said, this is where we're going. We're off. We're driving in WA, and we're just like, okay, cool, sure.
Yeah.
And to go driving for 5 months and almost say that you've run out of time to visit a corner of the country in Victoria, and you didn't go to Tassie this trip. That shows people how big the landmass is to literally go around and visit a lot of space, doesn't it?
Yeah, and even 5 months felt like it was pretty quick.
Yeah,
like we spent 2 days in Broome. Like you could spend a week there easily.
Oh, you could, yeah.
Months there.
That we were conscious of that. That's right. Like 5 months, we really had to balance, sort of spending time in places where we wanted to, and that we thought were going to be the places that we wanted to spend more time, because we sort of had to race through the top part of WA. I think in 10 days we got from Kununurra to Karratha or something, or more. So that was a huge amount of driving.
That's a big empty sort of I don't mean it in a terrible way. It's just a big, vast, open, vacant part of the country, isn't it? That northwestern corner where there's only a couple of satellite communities, and you literally got to drive all the way down almost to Perth to feel like you're back to society.
Yeah. And I lost count of the amount of times that, our families were trying to get in contact with us and chat to us, and we'd have to say, look, we'll have no service for a few days, a week. We don't know, because these areas are just so remote. I don't think we had phone service for probably well over 50% of the entire trip. So that gives you a sense of just how remote it is.
Without knowing about the fact that you were going to run into those reception concerns, you probably had an idea, but maybe not to the extent. Did it feel more intimate to be traveling through those parts without that connectivity with the rest of the world, without family and friends? Did you really feel you could take it all in so much more? I'm intrigued.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. You get to just focus on your immediate surroundings, and also meeting people, other travelers, the guy at the roadhouse, the guy at the pub, and just have, deep sort of conversations with people about their lives and what it's like to live in these places. And I think that's the most amazing part. And I remember chatting with someone in Exmouth about the sadness of a couple of the campsites there in Ningaloo that now have phone service, and what a shame it is, because it's such a beautiful part of the world to just enjoy with nothing else and no distractions.
Well, that's interesting. That's it. And I'm sure it doesn't come up in conversation with many people. You can say you had a deep conversation with a bloke at the servo.
Yeah.
The roadhouses are life when you're on the road.
They are, aren't they? They're incredible things in the distance. You're like, oh, there's civilization again. Oh, yeah. It's coming. It's coming.
In Sydney, you want to get in and out of a servo as quick as possible.
Oh, that's right.
It's a different ballgame. That's really interesting to hear you speak about it like that. I think it's so compelling and captivating to hear you travel like that for 5 months. And I've had people say to me before, because I say, to drive across the Nullarbor is an amazing experience. You see so much, and there's so much to take in. And people often say to me, I know they haven't driven travel around Australia much, and they say, but there's nothing there. And I'm like, yeah, that's why there's so much there. It's hard to get your head around.
Yeah.
Exactly right. I think the more nothing, the better, really. It's just, there's so much of, and not to get too deep here, but you realise how much in, urban built-up society you just don't get to experience properly landscapes and the natural environment. And even in a national park, sometimes they're amazing, but you might have a man-made tracks or platforms or buildings, and it's only sort of going to these places where you might be only a kilometre or a few k's from the highway, but you're just in the middle of nowhere. You really think like this is Australia. This is the real Australia.
Yeah. I think it's amazing. I love hearing this story. And one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you guys on the completion of this, and I've spoken to Tony Ellis recently, the nomadic golfer, and he's still doing it. So he's retired and he's still lapping it up, going all over the place as well. But
he's living the life.
Yeah, we were just calling this our first retirement.
Yeah.
I love it. So look, we've got an idea of what you felt and what you went through and experienced through across Australia in this trip. Let's try and bring some of that back to golf. This is a golf podcast, of course. Let's try and bring some of that back to a little bit of golf. I'm curious, Loch, being the numbers man that we all know that you are, did you keep count of how many courses you played?
Yeah, Steve, I've got all the stats. I've got the courses. I've got how many shots I took on each course. I've got how many fairways I hit, greens hit, scores on par threes.
Wow,
I've got it all, but it's not that exciting.
We probably could. You know what? We should if we're smart. We probably got to set up some sort. Oh, and I'm not into gambling, but people could have been betting on this. You were these stats and numbers and things. Some of these betting agencies, the things that they can bet on. It wouldn't surprise me if we could have done something like that. But let's put that to one side. So how many courses did you play?
48 different courses.
8 individual different tracks. And I'm just thinking of this out loud. You might not know the answers. Do you have a breakdown of how many were 9 holes and how many were 18?
I don't have a breakdown of that.
I've beaten you on one.
It'd be close to 50-50.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. And
yeah,
so
a lot of 9-hole tracks up north, for example, where a lot of obviously the volunteer courses are 9-holers because they're just the maintenance. Interesting experience in South Australia, particularly on the York Peninsula, was the concept of winter courses, because in summer the grass gets too out of control and the farmers are probably too busy harvesting and looking after their farms, that they just let the golf course grow out and no one can play because the grass is too long.
Now that's a different concept altogether of a golf presentation and a playable golf course. So what, in wintertime, they get a chance in autumn to cut the grass and then they can play it because it doesn't grow for a few months?
Yeah, I think that's the case. Yeah, well, the frost will keep it at bay.
Wow, that's interesting. That's very interesting. And these are all the experiences that you've no doubt found out along the way. I'm curious in all the. Do you have a state where WA is so big? I suppose not that anyone can get across the McGowan fence, but and the states are large. There's a lot of different landscapes in them. Was there one state out of the ones that you visited that you liked their style of golf, or is it just so different in all different parts of those states?
I think, WA definitely had the most diverse experience, because up north, it was so, there's not many golf courses up north, but one of the biggest surprises I thought was rolling to a town called Derby, I don't know how they pronounce it over there.
Yep.
Just north of Broome, and you think, middle of the desert basically, but the water board, or whatever they call it in WA, actually built this town a golf course because they couldn't pump the sewerage into the ocean anymore. So they have to use the reclaimed water. And lush green golf course.
I've talked about this recycling water. Secondary use of wastewater on golf courses is a fantastic use of water. But you get the funny thing where you just go, well, they couldn't pump it out of the ocean, so what can we do with it? We'll just make this lush green track over here.
Yep. So don't pick up your ball and then touch your face too much.
They had the signs there were hilarious. Yeah, it's
make sure you wear shoes.
Wash your hands before you have a cigarette. So keep that in mind, of course. Just so funny.
But then you get further down the coast and you hit, like at Karratha, they're in the process of greening the greens. So at the moment they've got 9 grass greens and 9 sand greens.
That's interesting.
But they'll have 18 grass greens eventually because of the same thing. That such a big population in Karratha now with all the miners that they've got a lot of extra reclaimed water. So they're in the process of making that. That'll be a really good golf course when they've done that.
Awesome. That's interesting. One I'll try and keep an eye on for walking the fairways in the future. It's
and then further
it's
down the coast, like around Lancelin, you got I think I mentioned this to you on Instagram one time, like where could you build a golf course in Australia if you could. The sand dunes around Lancelin and north of Perth is perfect for golf.
untouched golfing country, I think.
Yeah.
Would be the best way to describe it. I've not been there, but a little bit before I'd heard about that region, and after you mentioned it to me, mate, I Google Earth the shit out of that area, and and the sand dune country that's along that strip there north of Perth is just mind blowing. It really is incredible.
If Mike Kaiser wants to come over and create another destination golf place, I think that would be the go.
It's just got to. I don't know if you need to get a written invitation, or maybe you need to write an invitation to McGowan to be allowed into WA. I'm not sure. Does he allow? Is it the McGowan's water that's supplying these towns as well? I don't know what's going on. Interesting stuff, and I'm intrigued by that because it is such a big state. It probably makes up nearly a quarter of the country, I suppose, in terms of area. It's enormous. So quite diverse. And then that southwestern corner. What did you see in the southwestern corner? Because obviously there's Kalgoorlie, which is a wonderful Graham Marsh design golf course, a sort of a newish facility with a desert style. But then you've got like down that Augusta way, and you've got Margaret River region, and Albany's got a decent track, I think, as well from memory. I don't know if you got to there. What did you find down the southwest?
Albany is an amazing course. Love the fairways there. I'm a big fan of fairways that have some interest in them. So like not your flat fairways, but the fairways at Albany sort of like a inverse U shape. If you hit the middle of the fairway, you're good. But if you hit the sides of the fairway, they're rolling off down the side, and then you got a sort of a blind approach shot because you've rolled off the side of the fairway.
Interesting.
Really cool concept.
Yeah, very interesting. And was it a little bit more, because on a map on satellite, that corner gets the southwestern sort of rain events sweeping up through with the low troughs and the like bringing rain. So that corner is a lot different to the rest of the state, isn't it?
Yeah, it rained the whole time we were in Albany, 3 days straight.
There you go.
It did not take away any of the enjoyment though.
Yeah, cold, wet, but beautiful.
Yeah.
Nice. Very nice. Okay, I'm going to give you both an opportunity to answer this one because I'm a little bit curious. There might be different answers. Do you have, and also out of, what did you say, 48 courses you played in total? What was your favourite course? Can you pick one?
I'm going to say this towards the end of the trip, so maybe I'm biased, but Tanunda in the Barossa was just a really nice sort of, I don't know, relaxing, sort of resort style course, not too difficult, had some interesting features. We happened to score a cart deal, which was rare for us, but we just had a great day that day as well. We just had a lot of fun on the course.
We'd just come off like a sort of hiking for 4 days straight, basically, and then this, $80 or $84 for 2 players and a cart on a Monday at this course. And thanks, Tony Ellis, for recommending it. I think he'll laugh that you think it's easy. Leesh is also...
I got lucky, mate.
Leesh is biased because she also shot her best round there ever.
Ripper. Well done.
She's fallen into the classic golfer trap. We can call her a proper golfer now. My favourite course is also the course I played the best on.
Well, yes. That's probably heavily weights though.
That's a sucker. That's a sucker one. That one is. And what about you, Loch? What did you pick? What's your favourite?
Oh, it was Kalgoorlie for sure for me. Maybe we played some better courses, like the greens at Cottesloe were amazing. First Royal experience at Royal Perth. Joondalup's a decent resort course, but it was more you used the overused word journey, but just to get to Kalgoorlie, we went 400 or 500 k's out of our way just to get there. Like, it's not really on the way to anywhere. Like, you come off the Nullarbor, you just can shoot straight to Perth, or we came up from Esperance, so we just went, you can turn right at Norseman and you're on the Nullarbor, but we went an extra 200 k's to Kalgoorlie just to play that course and start the Nullarbor links.
And it's just like it's an amazing, unique course, but I think it wasn't gimmicky, which I liked about it as well. That they, you know, they had things like they had a plaque on every hole giving you information about the history of the town and the area, but it was all done very, not in a gimmicky way. So I think that's what I loved about it.
I love the layers as well. Like they just lay the grass on top of the red dirt, which provides a really good. I don't know the words. I don't read enough to.
But it felt like a carpet, right? Like a green carpet. That
a great contrast. To the surrounding,
that's the one.
To the surrounding sand and desert sands and the
looks
colours.
Like they're putting in a resort there, though. I don't know, which would be pretty cool. Like put some accommodation and make it a more of a golf destination. People can fly in and you can play that course several times and not get bored.
Interesting, very interesting. I hadn't heard that one, but there you go. I'll look into that one as well for walking the fair. You're giving me some points here to research. I like this.
Yeah, plenty of inside information after playing 48 different courses.
Talking about Kalgoorlie, because there is the super pit at Kalgoorlie, of course, and I'm curious, there's so much to sight where you travelled to. Was there ever a time where you're like, oh, golf, we've got to go here to visit, we must see this area, golf, visit? Did you have any moments where you just had to let golf go so you could take in where you were?
Oh, that's a hard question.
It's a hard one. I was always trying to fit in as much golf as possible.
There were times, I'll be honest, Steve, there were times when Loch would play and I would do another activity, usually running based or something other time-consuming activity. Because
get your hair done.
Yeah, you think we had so many days out travelling, but 48 courses. I mean, that's playing every 4 days or something.
Yeah.
It's
a lot of golf.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of golf, but I guess, traveling as we did, there's a lot of time spent driving as well. So,
yeah, of course.
Yeah, we sort of fit in as much as we could while also, doing things like seeing the super pit, visiting the excellent pubs and the main drag of Kalgoorlie. And we, there's great things with that too. Like we were looking at the super pit and some MD of a mining company was really trying to offer us a job on a drill rig for a couple of days. So
serious?
I'm not joking. So we had to choose between that and I think we were playing the next day, right? So it was like, sorry, mate, we're playing Kalgoorlie. Otherwise, we'd be out there on a drill rig. So
did he offer a membership at Cal? Maybe.
No, see, that could have been enticing.
Drill rig work sounded way too hard for me.
Yeah, it's a bit too much manual labour.
No, very good. Okay, well let's jump into. I'm curious. There's so much to talk about. We could probably talk for hours, but I'll try and talk about the things that are quite unique to your trip in terms of golf. And you're at Kalgoorlie now. You've played the Kalgoorlie golf course, the new course it is, and they had the first couple of holes of what is the Nullarbor Links. How did the Nullarbor Links transpire for you? And were you intrigued / excited about playing that? I don't know if gimmick is the right word, but playing that unique course.
Leesh was looking forward to it the entire time, I think. That was what you were counting down to.
I was. Yeah, I was. I'll be honest. So, yeah, it lived up to high expectations. And I think, it was almost the whole point of it was that the golf itself, I mean, the few holes at Kalgoorlie, amazing. But, really, if you took the location out of it, the holes itself were well varied in terms of golf experience, but that was, to me, the whole point of it, right, is you're playing on these ridiculous, it wasn't even a fairway, beside a roadhouse where it was just bush and trees, and then you're trying to aim for a square AstroTurf green that you can't even see. That was the whole joy. It was just the sort of ridiculous nature of it half the time.
Just picture this, Steve, waking up. You just slept in the van. You wake up and you've got a 200-metre par 3 right in front of you. You've got to play. Or you've just been sitting down for 500 k's. You got to play a 200-metre par 3. The recipe for disaster.
That's pretty unique and very unique, I should say. And we should just clarify for people if they've jumped into your story, this being the second part, if you like. The Nullarbor Links is the longest golf course in the world, and it goes across from WA at Kalgoorlie all the way over to Ceduna, I think, in South Australia. So it crosses 2 states and it goes across the Nullarbor and a desert area, and it's quite special and very unique. And I remember stopping when we were traveling as a family, and we stopped at, there was Cocklebiddy, the Balladonia, Kaiguna, all those places along, and now they've got some of those stops have a golf hole that you play.
It's such a good way to break up the trip as well. Like every roadhouse has a hole, so it makes you stop, take a bit of time, and that's how it was formulated. Like it was a fatigue management idea from someone, and it's not cheap to play. It's like $70-something, but the money goes towards maintaining the facilities, which is perfect for fatigue management. So well worth the price.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
It is a mega drive. It takes days to drive across that stretch. How did you find, and I don't know where the golf holes sit, as you get past Eucla and you climb up that little rise and you get on that tableland that cuts quite close to the Great Australian Bight near the cliff top. So are there any holes along that stretch in particular?
There's no holes on a cliff.
Damn.
No.
I know, that would be nice. Although we did stop. We stayed a night actually on those cliffs because we'd heard that it's quite an incredible experience. And that was possibly the hairiest, 1K that we drove off a highway that we thought, the van is not going to make this.
It's all limestone, and limestone you don't get much limestone over here in Sydney. It's all nice, smooth sandstone, but limestone is not very nice to walk or drive on.
But that was spectacular because we parked and we were maybe 20 metres from this sort of 80-metre cliff, and we just made very sure that we had the handbrake on because it was on an angle and there's just nothing stopping you from tipping into the ocean.
It's a brain-numbing location, isn't it? When you come off and you get to there and you just look left and right, and as far as you can see, it's just cliff.
Oh, that's right. And I tell you what, if we had some of those, one of those like biodegradable golf balls or one of those, if we had them, you would have had the best afternoon just smacking golf balls off the cliff. I tell you what.
Well, look, I don't think I've told anyone, and we've got family photos of us hitting real golf balls off there when I was a kid. So I'm just going to throw it out there. That was 25 years ago. So it was me. I'm sorry. They're not going to break down in the ocean, but it was pretty impressive to do that with I think I had an old Carnegie Clark One Wood or something along those lines.
Oh, that's so good. And we met some people actually on the Nullarbor links that had, I think you can either buy very cheaply from an op shop or even from the Tourist Information Centre, some old clubs. And so there were guys getting around with, like 4 sticks in their bag, just an absolute hodgepodge. And I think that would be a very fun way to play it as well. If you're not much of a golfer, or if you want to play but your partner isn't into it, honestly I think you'd still have a ball just whacking some balls.
That's pretty cool. Did you come across people that were just not, like you say, just grabbed a couple of sticks at one end, and with many people it's very hard to see a lot of there, but did you come across anyone else playing the Nullarbor links?
The bloke from Gympie.
Yeah, Andrew. We made a friend on, maybe it was halfway through.
He wasn't even a golfer.
Yeah, and that's right. He was a great example. Not a golfer, but he was travelling, I think for about 6 months as well, on his own, and just decided why not. So that was great because we kept running into him at all sorts of different holes over the next few days. And then there was another example of a couple that I think the guy had played some golf, but he didn't have any sticks on him. And you could just tell, he came up and they started chatting to us, and you could just tell he was itching to hit a few. And so we lent him my golf clubs and sadly like quite a decent golf ball that I think he then lost. But that's right. I just encourage you, just take some sticks and, just have a go. It's so much fun.
It's not about being a golfer, is it? It's just a different experience in a unique part of the country.
Yeah.
We kept score, but I mean, after I topped it off it's funny that this course starts on the 10th hole at Kalgoorlie. So you've actually had 9 holes to warm up. So you think you'd be able to find the middle of the club by the 10th, but still managed to top it off the tee to start the Nullarbor links and signing up for a triple.
Oh no! So do we challenge against each other? Who had was it a handicap game? Who beat who? Do we have those scores?
Leash beats me every time. I give her a shot a hole, and it's just I was giving 2 shots a hole. I don't know, but there's too many shots. Leash is a 43 handicap playing to about a 36, so doesn't put in enough scorecards. Absolute burglar. Beats me every time.
Very good. And how long does it take you to play the Nullarbor Link? So obviously you were doing a little bit along the way and sightseeing, but how long did it take you to get across it?
I think we spent 5 days. I think you could do it in maybe 3, but I'd strongly recommend taking at least 5. I remember we had a guy advise us at another campsite. He said, just take your time over the Nullarbor, because once it's over, it's over. So that was a good amount of time.
I'm curious, does 5 days constitute slow play? Is there?
Yeah, I don't know. There were days when we only did 2 holes, I think, and we felt a bit lazy, but it possibly does.
What was do you have any idea between holes? Like, what was the longest drive? Was it a couple of hours between a hole or something?
I think there was 400 Ks between.
Oh, 400 Ks.
That was probably the day we only did 2 holes.
Yeah.
One in the morning, one at night, and that was it.
Yeah.
It's amazing. That sounds like so much fun. And just like you said, the concept of fatigue management behind the idea. And I think that's really cool and adds an element of fun to get across that unique stretch of the country. All right, guys, I want to know, what is your biggest surprise packet golf course that you might have come across in your travel? Can you think of one of those?
I think Derby was a massive surprise because of where it was and the nature of it being so lush. I was also massively surprised by Clifton in Queensland. That's actually in the middle of nowhere. It's a Ross Watson design, like a designed golf course. Yeah, just about an hour outside Warwick.
Very interesting. You found a Ross Watson design course out that way. I wouldn't have even thought of it.
And I'd say another one was Yanchep was really nice, because it's a golf course within a national park, about an hour and a half north of Perth. And
this is that one you found. I saw your photo of this one. Yeah, in the national park.
We literally drove there to do a trail run, which was lovely. And then we happened to run literally through this golf course and thought, what the heck's this? And then promptly...
We didn't know how to pay the green fees, because we approached the guy at the club and he's like, no, you got to pay with the entrance to the national park. I'm like, oh, okay. So we had to drive out of the national park to drive back in to pay the green fees.
Oh, it was a classic. That was a really fun. Was that a 9-hole?
Yeah, these were all 9. All these ones we mentioned are 9 holes.
But just beautiful and just literally owned by the national park.
Blackwater as well in Queensland, near Emerald. So Emerald was a bit run down. They need some rain up there. They've probably got it now, so it's probably looking pretty schmick. But Blackwater, the coal capital of Queensland, I've never seen a golf course with so many false fronts. You think you've nailed this approach shot to the middle of the green, and you just watch the ball roll back down to the off the front.
That's cool. Some diverse places across the spectrum of the 48 you played. Now, I'm in the theme of what you guys are. I'm just kicking back here, enjoying this talk. I'm just going to crack open a tinny, because this is just too much fun. Having a conversation.
Rosses as well.
I've got to tell you, I'm really enjoying it. So I just thought I'd do that, feeling a bit Aussie, traveling around the country. Now,
we certainly did that mid course a few times ourselves, where we just thought this round would be much better with a 4X or something like that.
I love it. Now, I'm curious. I wonder if you've got one in mind of the weirdest, strangest course, and let's take the Nullarbor Links out of it itself.
Yeah.
Is there a really odd, unusual, either a location or a style of course, or something that just, I don't know, did it go around a giant mine or something unusual? I'll start it, because I've played one that when we crossed the Nullarbor, it was at Eucla, and it was just slightly out to the north of town. I don't know if you guys played there. It was a 9-hole golf course, and we drove our car around it. And this was before the days of the Nullarbor Links. There's a family, Dad, myself, and my brothers. We got in the car and we just went out there and thought, let's just play these 9 holes. And in the middle of the golf course was the rifle range.
Yep.
So that to me was the most unusual golf course location, to have a golf course doubling up as a rifle range. Now, I'm not sure you'd want to double check when which parts were open on which days of the week, obviously. But do you guys have a weird one? Do you have something that really stood out as being unusual and it ended up being fun?
You got one?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good nomination, Steve, because I agree that was a super weird course, and even finding where the course was difficult. But for me, yeah, I'd definitely say Moline, just because as I said, we literally drove past a sign that said golf course and had an arrow, and we thought, what the hell's this? And then just happened to get there, and there were people there that then let us play. And you know, the course itself, of course, like pretty dry, pretty dusty. They said to watch out for the buffalo poo on the fairways.
In the wet season, the river floods and like half the course goes underwater.
Yeah, and it was super fun. Like they had things like all the golf balls that they found on the course. They created a pyramid of golf balls and super glued them all together, so you couldn't use any of them. And then they had Hills hoists on the tee boxes, which are obviously, you know,
For shade.
Squares of AstroTurf, yeah, which they'd put shade cloth over, and that was the shade, and just it was fantastic. And we we ended up staying the night there because these guys said, oh, you know, where are you camped, and why don't you just stay here? And we probably had about 8 bottles of red between 5 of us, but it was just so unique and a lot of fun, and a night I don't think we'll ever forget that night.
They even had the original telegraph poles from the telegraph line that went from Darwin to Adelaide.
Oh,
up through the middle.
And that was like they'd made up all these shower things as well. So we had a hot shower there because just the solar showers was amazing.
That's unreal. And what about you, Loch, mate? Was that a similar nomination?
I had not a weird. The course is quirky, but not a weird place. It was just a weird experience I think it was a Saturday, and we were like in Esperance, and we were like, oh, not sure what to do today, but pretty sure there's a golf course over there, and go check it out. Pink Lake Golf Course in Esperance. The lake's actually not pink. I don't know why they call it Pink Lake. I think it used to be. But roll up to this Saturday comp there, and it's a 3-club comp, so I'm out there playing with three other members there, and one bloke's getting around on his postie bike that he's sort of turned into a golf cart. We're going around with 3 clubs to play this course for the first time. I actually shot a better score there than when I went to Esperance Golf Club the next day with my full set of clubs.
I'm not sure if that's a true reflection of your golf game, mate. We might keep that one.
And they play all sorts of weird gambling games over there. Like I've never gambled so much playing golf, I think, than on this trip, especially in WA. They love a gamble over there. I think it's because they don't have poker machines. But I'll give a shout out to a bloke, Ray, at Pink Lake Golf Club, which I still owe 20 cents to. He refused to take my money. He said that I'll remember that and I'll have to take the 20 cents debt to my grave. I'll never forget Ray.
That's good.
So many nice people on the way, like Leesh was saying at Moline, they just said stay the night, and Ray was the same. Like we'd already had a site at the caravan park, but he was such a good bloke that he was like, you know, it's just parking in a driveway if you want. And we met other guys along the way, like Mark at Lancelin, sort of friend of a friend from the internet, and also another Mark at Cottesloe, which we ended up staying at his property in the Margaret River. Yeah,
the Mark's in Perth. Any golfer that you meet in Perth who's called Mark, they're top bloke.
That's cool. And I'm curious to talk a little bit about that side of it. That I've often talked about golf in regional locations and away from metropolitan areas, and how people use it as a bit of a mental break and a bit of a social way to get together and catch up and swap stories and have banter and have fun, because you're in unique locations. Life can be difficult at times, and also through isolation. What did you find out about all the different types of people you bumped into around the way? Like, you know, it sounds like you really met lots of really interesting and really nice people along the way.
Oh, I think that's the great thing about golf in general is, even though it's not a team sport, like you would bond with your teammates playing footy or whatever, but golf, everyone bonds over that sport. So it's like, as soon as you are a golfer, like one lady came up to us and said at a caravan park in Darwin and said, "Oh, you guys must be golfers." Like, how do you know? It's like, "Oh, one of your hands is more tan than the other." And then you just have a massive conversation about golf for the rest of the day.
Yeah, it was such a great thing to have in common with people that other travellers that you met, but also, yeah, we were just blown away by whenever we played a comp. So I think I joined in the comp at Esperance the next day, and that's a group of people that probably play together every Sunday, with the same people, and they have really good mates from that, but they will just welcome visitors so much, and it's they know that we're there literally for a day or two, and then we're probably never going to see them again in our lives, sadly. But they're just bending over backwards to make us feel welcome, and that sort of hospitality just really blew us away and was such a highlight of the trip.
Yeah,
that's so good to hear, and I've talked about it before through my experiences, and I hear you guys and I hear other people talk about it. It's just so good. You've seen so much of a picture of golf in Australia that you've experienced that side of people and that welcoming nature of golfers in so many different places, including such remote locations as well. And it's just really nice to hear those stories that you experienced. It must have just been a great feeling, like you talked about. What was it like going from real country basic courses and rudimentary stuff, and I don't mean that in a bad way, we talk about the 9-hole courses in these remote locations, to then playing your Cottesloes or your Royals? What did that feel like? Was there, you got this really big contrast in a short time frame, and then you're going back to some of those regional rural courses. What did the metro ones feel like, having come from those other courses? And did you find it really weird now to go that way with such a big change? What was it like?
I think there's not that much difference. Like, the people are, I think, just as nice. I think people in the city get a hard stick for not being as nice as country people, but I don't think that's true. That people are just as hospitable in the city as they are in the country. But I think the biggest thing I found, just from a course perspective, was conditioning, and particularly conditioning of the greens. I think the city courses, I guess they've got a lot more greenkeepers, a lot more labour, that they can keep the greens, rolled and cut, and in, I guess, better quality. So you come from these country courses, you're ramming putts at the hole, and they're not even making it, and then you get these country courses, and you think you can do the same thing, and you watch it go further away from the hole than when you started.
Did it make those country courses feel worse after going from that country to metro to country, or was it just another version of golf? Because I hear people talk about it, and I've experienced it, where they're only used to playing metro and they go bush, they go, no, I didn't have a good time. I didn't like the way the course played. It wasn't really enjoyable because of the presentation, or, some people expect something else. Did you find it was still golf and you still enjoyed it just as much?
Yeah, I think we had a point where we realised that, for us anyway, I think playing on a green course with grass is a totally different game to when you're playing on the dirt and with sand greens. So you sort of, like, my strong advice is, if you're flitting between the two, if you're trying a dirt and sand green course for the first time, don't worry about your score and don't treat it as the same thing. And I think, for me, if I compare it to running, it's like comparing a road marathon to a trail run. Like, they're just completely different sports almost. And so as long as you let go of the score, and even, particularly things like putting, right? For me, putting on a sand green, 3 or 4 putts, totally fine. And that's the way you enjoy it, and things like having a little AstroTurf mat on the fairway is just, it's mind-boggling, but it's hilarious, and you just got to embrace it.
So be a bit more open-minded and don't be too hell bent on, the comparison.
Yeah, it's still the same. It's still golf. It's just different, and you're still out there for the same reason, though, right? Like you're out there to exercise and be outdoors and have a bit of a walk around and talk to people that you wouldn't necessarily talk to, down the street.
Awesome bit of advice. I like it. One that I'm also curious to know about with all the courses that you experienced. What did you find out about sort of Aussie courses and Aussie golf from such a wide golf experience in such a very short time frame? What did you feel at the end of all that you thought, did you think it was quite surprising? Were you surprised by such a wide range of things that you come across, or what? Yeah, I'm curious to know what you thought.
Yeah, you can definitely see how it changes over the country. So, Queensland golf's different to Territory golf, different to WA golf. And it's just, I don't know, like any golfer loves golf, right? Like there's not many, you wouldn't play the game if you didn't love it.
Yes, that's very true. Very true. Like beating your head against a brick wall sometimes and going, yes, I want more.
But there's so many of these courses where it's got such a small membership and they're all volunteers as well as being members. But they just play the same course every week in, week out.
I think to me, it reflects sort of the broader story of Australia, right, in terms of the incredibly diverse landscape, and that's reflected in all the sorts of golf courses that we played. But the theme, as you say, was the community, the really strong communities that we witnessed around those golf courses, and particularly the volunteer ones. But that was consistent everywhere, whether you're playing in the middle of nowhere or whether you're playing, in the CBD somewhere. It just that to me is a nice reflection, I guess, of the Australian spirit and the community nature of everyone just pitching in to make it work and have fun.
And I think there's also a lot of volunteers at Sydney private golf courses too. Like
there are
another Mark who plays golf at Bonnie Doon is he's a massive volunteer in the bush care committee. So people just don't realise, like, volunteers make golf courses go around because they actually are a lot of work and they cost a lot of money to run, as you would know more than anyone, Steve.
I totally agree, and quite often there's plenty of members and there's a lot of golfers that don't realise that even the big clubs, and I just released a podcast recently, Walking the Fairways, where the Western Australian Club did a lot of work over there in Perth, and they had a volunteer base to help in large scale work. They were helping laying turf and that sort of stuff. It doesn't matter the size or the scale of the club, and I think to have active members helping out, it also gives a sense of satisfaction to be part of what they're out there playing as well. That there's a connection to the land, like there is in a lot of other ways that people connect to the land. And golf is another one where if you're out there being active and helping in some way to look after the course, you've got that connection to that space. And you go out there and enjoy it. You see it in a little bit of a different way. And I think it doesn't matter how big or small. And we know that it's easier to talk about volunteers in the smaller rural regional tracks because they're nearly the only ones that you see, and less so you see in the bigger metro courses. But whether it be bush care or a little bit of work around helping in some projects and the like, some of the big private courses even do have that, and I think it's a great connection to being part of a club. I think that's the essence of club, is a group of people getting together kind of for a common cause and a common hobby. That's part of why you're there as well. And it's nearly always about people. That's what clubs are.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think it's a great thing that you experienced on your way around. Now I've got two questions to finish off, guys. One, and you can both answer them individually, just the same. One, would you do it again?
Yeah.
Oh, this is going to be funny because I think we'll have different answers. Me, yes, absolutely. I loved it. I'd do it again in a year or two's time and spend another 5-6 months very happily doing that.
Awesome.
And me, I don't regret doing it at all. It was a perfect trip for the perfect or imperfect situation. given COVID. But if I was to take 5 months off work again, I would base myself somewhere, wherever, even if that's at home in Sydney, and then do lots of little trips, like go 2 weeks here, you go, in a week, you actually do overseas travel. You go to New Zealand for a month, you go to Tassie for a month, and then you can come back, catch up with your family, catch up with your friends, get grounded in Sydney again, and then reset. Yep.
Very interesting. Good answers. Like to hear it. And the one question I've got to finish, would you recommend people do a trip, maybe not necessarily to the size that you guys have done, but to do a trip away from what they're used to and experience golf and other communities outside what they're used to?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's so many, especially given the amount of rain the eastern seaboard especially has had. The country golf courses are looking absolutely amazing. I mean, easy trip for people from Sydney, out to the Central West, Oberon, Mudgee, Orange, Bathurst, Forbes, Parks. You interviewed the greenkeeper from Parks the other day. They've got some exciting developments there, or I think some things to do with a road or something. And getting taken away. But then Queensland, you go out to Warwick. Warwick golf course is amazing. They've got Clifton, Ross Watson design, and you got what's the other one that I played there? I always forget the name of it.
Allera. Allera is a great course.
That is a great course.
But yeah, that's right. I agree. If you can, if you fly somewhere, if you hire a van, if you take a caravan, if you're just doing a road trip, it's just, to me, it's the best way to experience the Australian landscape is through overland travel and through golf. And give the
golf club a buzz and get in the Saturday or Sunday comp with the members, because they've got some great stories.
Yeah.
Bloody oath, you can certainly learn a lot and enjoy a lot talking to the locals about what they love about their place and what they've got up to in their time. Look, Loch and Leesh, speaking of time, I'm going to say it was wonderful and quite captivating listening to your story, your 5 months trip around Australia and experiencing an incredibly unique way to play golf around. And I just wanted to say thank you for being part of the podcast and sharing an incredible journey, and hopefully others enjoyed listening to you along the way, which I'm sure they did.
Yeah, thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Steve. And we had so much fun listening to your podcast on our trip. You were a constant companion in the van when we didn't have service. So that was a real highlight. We loved it.
Thanks, guys. And thank you again. And enjoy your golf wherever you end up playing next.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks. Bye.
Now, how good was that for a holiday? What a golf adventure. If I could do something like that, and you heard me talk about it, I would absolutely love to. Didn't Loch and Leesh enjoy an incredible time around the country, experiencing some fantastic golf experiences around the place. It was absolutely fantastic for them to embark on such an adventure in such a tumultuous time in Australia, I should say. And something that we chatted about, and I think anyone who travels around playing golf and experiencing different things, you're going to get a real kick out of all sorts of different golf experiences around the country. So if you get half a chance, why not? Why not just do it within your state? Why not plan a holiday and do something a little bit different? Look, thanks to Loch and Leesh so much for taking the time to catch up post their trip. It's a really good insight into what you're going to encounter when you travel around Australia for golf, and there's so many different things to experience around and different golf courses and the like. And like I said, pick apart some of the golf courses that they went to, go and experience them, go and enjoy them, and catch up with some different people around the place, and you'll certainly have an absolute whale of a time, no doubt. Now, guys, please like, share, subscribe. Get in touch with Loch and Leesh through Finding Fairways Australia, through their website, through their social media channels. They're on Instagram. And if you want to chat with me about any of the bits and pieces that you heard us talk about today on the podcast as well, really good time. That one was recorded a few weeks ago now, and great to get Loch and Leesh back on. So like, share, subscribe, guys, please. I thank you very much for taking the time out to listen as always. And if you could leave a review, and would really appreciate that as well. So thank you for listening. As I always say, and I'll leave you with this one, you hit them clean, we keep them green, and I'll catch up with you next week where I've got a little bit more to bring to you on the podcast. Subscribe and stay tuned. Have yourself a fantastic day.